Welcome back to this episode of Uncover the Human. We are joined with two guests today. We have Neil Scanlon and Rafal Dybacki. Welcome, Neil and Rafal, to the podcast.
Hi, Alex.
Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning. Welcome.
We're very excited to have this conversation. You guys have a very interesting structure going, but before we dive into that, would you guys mind just telling us a little bit about your story? What got you here?
Sure. Well, my name's Neil Scanlon. The co-owner of Worthington Assembly. We are a contract manufacturer for circuit board assemblies. And what that means is we provide the service of buying circuit board components. And we have all this robotics and this amazing team of people that assemble this stuff. And that's the service we provide. That's
great. And Rafal, anything you want to add on that?
So my name is Rafal Dybacki, and that's exactly what we do, what you just said.
And so what led you guys there? What brought you, what you guys as people, what brought you here? Not even here to the podcast, here to today.
And to the podcast. We can get into that one too.
So we both come from a manufacturing background. Rafal and I both. Our families have known each other since the mid 1980s. And so, and our history, our family history, has a lot of manufacturing to it. And so, with that, we always believed in local manufacturing and just how important that is. And maybe not local manufacturing, but just manufacturing in general. How important it is for a local economy and a country, everything. It's just such an important thing. And the reason why we feel it's important is because it gives folks good jobs to provide for their families, at the very core of it, or to provide for themselves if they don't have a family. And we believe that that's really kind of an overlooked thing. So because a lot of manufacturing jobs, it's always thought of that they're, kind of low paying, button pushers, you could say. But we felt, and I think we both had this feeling very early on, that there was a lot more to it, to that, and that we felt we could, with the right organization, provide really good manufacturing jobs.
That's a great mission. And the way you got to the podcast is also very interesting. One of your employees actually highly recommended to us that we talk to you, which I have to say, it's definitely a rare thing. And at first, when an employee is so passionate and so aligned with feeling human in a company, when they come to us and they say, you have to talk to our founders and our CEOs about how they do this.
Yeah. So, go ahead, Alex.
I was going to say it's a striking recommendation. We'd love to know more about that and what kind of culture you guys have at Worthington.
Well, I mean, I guess the first thing to say is that we run. I guess to go back how it all started, right? So we bought Worthington Assembly, Rafal and I, in 2008. We were both relatively young men with very new families, and we didn't have a lot of money, but we borrowed money and asked people for help, and we got some help, and we were able to purchase this business from a husband and wife who also helped us a lot. So the people that sold us the business helped us a lot. So we started with a very healthy environment, let's just say. The prior owners, we have an excellent relationship with them and always have. And the team that they had there was just a great group of people. So we had kind of an easy start. Would you agree, Rafal?
Totally agree. Yeah, with Tom and Barbara created, we took on and built on that foundation for sure.
And but one of the things that would happen when we first started is folks would come to us, and someone that just a really bright person would come to us and ask a simple question. And, it would be like, hey, what should I work on next? Should I work on job A or job B? And we do the obvious thing, which was, well, here's the answer. Do job A, right? Because that you know what to do next, right? You're the owner, and so and then they'd come back again. Hey, should I do job A or job B? And it's like, maybe I'd give them the answer again, or Rafal would, and eventually we started going, well, what do you think you should work on next? And they would say, well, job A. It's like, oh yeah, I totally agree. And then you realize, like, after you do this a few times, like, oh my God, like, of course you always know the right answer, right? Why are you coming to me? This is very inefficient. And everything at our core is to try to be as efficient as possible. That's part of manufacturing, and in the US in the 21st century, is just to be as efficient as possible, because you won't be competitive otherwise, right? So with that, that's sort of what started our thinking around trying to be a decentralized organization. And so to add to that a little bit, like, okay, how did I know the right answer at first? Well, I had a lot of information. Eventually, how did that person know the right answer? Well, they had a little bit more information. And so by decentralizing the information, getting all the information out there, now you're empowering, a lot more people to be able to make good decisions. Years ago, we had just, like an Excel spreadsheet for our schedule that was printed out, and only a few people had it, or one person had it, and they would kind of dole out the work instructions. And today we have 6 different teams and a schedule for each of those teams, and it's all completely available for anyone on those teams to see. All 36 of we have I guess 38 people on payroll or something like that, including Raechel and I. So they all have this information all the time, all the information they need to always make the right decision. So they don't have to come to me or Raechel. So it's decentralizing everything, decentralizing as much information as we possibly can.
I really like that, because I do believe that's definitely the key. It's not just letting people have the answers, but how do you enable them to have the answers? What do they need to be able to come up with the answers, and then be confident with it, and even be confident in making a mistake and knowing that that's going to be okay. And so it's not just usually, what we see a lot and what we hear a lot and what we've experienced is the first step of saying, you go and answer that, you go figure it out. But the second step of figuring out how to enable that is very, it's missing. Or if it's not missing, it's not quite as deep as you've described it. So there is a lot of talk of, yes, information is available. Here's all the information. It's transparent. But when then you dig deeper, it's either not easy to find, or it's not all the information. It's only what I think you should know, and the rest I'm going to keep. And there's all sorts of barriers everywhere.
Yeah, I think through experience working in my other places in manufacturing, you always have this supervisor, and we decided not to have one. And so then the question was, what makes a supervisor? Was again the knowledge and the information they have to make all the decisions that they have to make throughout the day. So since we pretty much decided not to have supervisors, we had to find a way to make the information available for everyone to make the right choices.
So there's a second part to that too. You allow people to make choices, and like Shane was talking about the mistakes portion. When a mistake happens, the other mistake we see sometimes is companies will be like, yeah, everybody should make the decisions they're close to, and then they make a decision that whatever higher up wouldn't have made, and then suddenly they're slapped down, and now there's no more safety to make that decision. Between that and the fact that you guys went from one spreadsheet to now 6 kind of decentralized teams, what was the transition like? How do people deal with that, both you guys and your team?
I mean, it happens slowly, so we just kind of out of a necessity. So there wasn't, I don't know, it just every day there's a small incremental improvement, right?
Yeah.
So
it wasn't like a go date. It wasn't a transition period. It was just we should do this now. But then okay, that's a problem, then we're going to do it next. And yeah, you have to, as business owners, we have to understand the errors, right? Everybody's going to make errors, mistakes, and it's going to cost you, because they will. So I think the only thing that we always ask people, that when the mistake is made, whatever that is, make sure we learn from it, so we don't make it again, right? There's no like slapping hands, because what would be the point? At that point, this thing will not work, right? Nobody will make the decisions on their own.
And
You
the
say
team,
that so simply.
I know.
So few people do it.
and the teams really give each other the feedback. In other words, we're not putting the pressure. So if you mess something up, it's generally pretty visual, right? Like you can actually, because we're manufacturing, you can actually see the mistake, right? So no one usually takes the mistake harder than the person that made the mistake too. So and the teams are constantly giving each other feedback, and which is probably something we should probably get into a little bit, which is, so our core values, which we really operate the company with. And we didn't figure this out until, or we didn't define our core values until I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And since doing that, life has gotten a lot easier. But one of the core values that's kind of relevant to this is honesty. And what we mean about honesty is not the obvious thing, like, I'm not lying, right? Like it's not about that. It's about being able to
take that as, that honesty, that you already have it, right?
Yeah.
Like being a human.
Yeah, not lying is given.
Right.
Let's build from that.
Let's call
Right.
it table stakes. Yeah.
I don't have to list it as, okay, don't lie to me. Right?
And that's usually what makes the difference for somebody who is going to lie. Just a reminder. Sorry, Neil, continue.
So it's about having this honest feedback with each other. And we talk about, and it's from it's the brutal honesty, right? Which we've stolen from Good to Great, the Jim Collins book, Good to Great, which is like brutal honesty, and just how important that is. And to really, we promote it. We talk about it all the time. How important it is that if somebody is making your work difficult, or somebody is causing a small issue, whatever that might be, and maybe it's a quality thing, or maybe it's just how they're, I don't know, entering in data, whatever it is, you have to be able to talk to that person about it. And again, it's having this environment where you don't take that to the supervisor, you don't take that to Rafal and I as the owners of the business, you take that right to the person that's actually causing the challenge, or the problem. And it's a both way thing. So you have to be able to take the feedback, and you have to be able to give the feedback.
Yeah.
So.
And that's really hard. And that's probably where a lot of the honesty beyond the not lying fails in a lot of cases. And it's because it's hard to give the feedback and then see what the reaction may be and not want to offend somebody. And it's definitely hard to receive the feedback and now have this, cloud and darkness of like, oh my God, now I'm going to be watched every single time because this is the feedback. And what if I'm not good enough? And all these things start piling up.
Yeah.
So how do you encourage your employees to do that without all the personal stuff that could get in the way?
Well, the first thing is we talk about it a lot. And I guess I'll add another thing, which is two things actually. One is another core value that we have, which is humility. Right. So I always think this is our number one core value. We list it first, and to me, it's most important is to have humility. And the second thing is we have what's called a 360 review process. So somebody's always going through a 360 review. We don't have like a review period. It's ongoing. So it's always somebody's always in one. It's always happening. So people are reminded of this like every other week. you know. So the team is just always thinking about how important it is to give feedback to others, and to be able to take feedback well, and to be able to give feedback well, and to be humble about it.
And it took us a while to come up with the 360 process, but right now you can comment and give feedback on anybody within Worthington Assembly. It's open all the time. So if somebody does something that affects you in a wrong or good way, you can go to that form, and it's just a simple Google form. It collects all the information, and we summarize the information every 12 or so months, depending how many employees we have, I guess, and present that to the employee. But employees will have access to their comments on a daily basis. So you can always go to your form and check it out if somebody, commented at something. And it's good and bad, right? We want both, obviously.
And we allow, so right now we do allow you to record your name or not record your name. So it can be anonymous or not anonymous. So if it's really complicated, we allow the person to not have their name on it. But we really want it. We try to encourage everyone to put your name on it. If and I think we do it. We just have it there, or like we have it there because we're still convinced that we're still trying to figure. And we're still trying to figure this out, right? Is this even something that is works well and we should be doing? But we think it does.
That's a great review process. We've seen the pitfalls of having like a once a year review, which really is just like a small glimpse of the last 3 months, and there's no real feedback, or it's feedback from one manager, and it's very challenging to get a good picture out of that or feel like you're getting a fair shake. So I'm curious, you mentioned like talking about honesty as one of the things you talk about, how the importance of the brutally honest conversations. How do you go about talking about that? What kind of conversations are those?
It's exactly how it's literally talking about our core values and just reminding folks. So every week or every other week, somebody's going through this process, but every other week, the team is filling out this information about another teammate. So they do formally have to sit down and review all this stuff. So it's like they're constantly being reminded, because I'm teammate A. I do have to sit down and do a formal 360 on teammate B this week, and I'm going to review that honesty thing. So we'll have, with each core value, we really define it quite a bit. And so they're having to read this. I don't want to say memorize it, but they are memorizing because they always have to do it and work on it.
The repetition. I really
repetition.
Like
it. It's repetition. Yeah. One of the things that I love, that I often say is that, we're kind of chief reminding officers. We're always reminding. And it takes people a long time to act, to remember and learn, but we always have to keep reminding.
Yeah. That's a great term, chief reminding officers.
Well, I forget where I heard it exactly, but I have heard it on a podcast before, I'm sure. But when I heard it, it just clicked, and it's like, hey, we this is really important. I don't do it enough myself, right? I wish I reminded people. I wish I took more time to remind people more.
It takes time and effort, and you get to the point where, like, okay, I've already said it 150 times. Do I really have to say it again? Yes. The answer is always yes.
Yeah.
Easiest flowchart in the world.
You walk around with all this stuff in your head, and you're thinking about it all the time, and you think it's clear to everybody else, but it's not. It's not.
Yeah. If that's one thing people could understand in general, that's a good one. Everything that's in your head is not as clear as you'd love it to be outside. So what's it like when you bring in new people? I mean, this is a great idea, great culture. And Christina alluded to it before. There's a lot of like fear of mistakes from a lot of other companies. I imagine that would be something people might carry in when they're starting with Worthington. What is that like?
Well, we take a lot of time with our hiring process to make sure someone's the right fit. And like everything else we do, we try to be decentralized about it. So the folks that are on the production floor are the ones that so depending on which team you're going to work on or where you're going to work in the company, you will work directly with that team as part of the interview process. So we do what's called a 3-day, a 30-day, and then we have the ongoing 360. So we have a 3-day 360, and then we have a 30-day 360 as well. And excuse me, a 3-day, it's a 3-day 360 and a 30-day 360, but they're both defined as working interviews, which sounds a little bit intense, and it is, but we feel like this in order to make a decision to go work in manufacturing, you have to, especially for just about anyone to come work for us. We feel like it's just so important that you're exposed to our culture for a period of time before making a decision to come work here. So yeah, so the 3-day process will look like this. We ask that you try to, and we'll work with you. So say you're working full-time somewhere else. We'll say, look, can you take, is there any way you could take a few afternoons off to come work with our team? So you would arrive at 12 o'clock in the afternoon and work with our team until 4 o'clock that day. Some people are able to take a full day off, and they would just literally come and work with our team for a full day. And we'll pay you for this time. This is not, we're not asking you to do it for free. And really expose that person to the 360 process, our core values, all these things right away.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we use the same process, same forms for 3-day, 30-day, and the rest of the career with Worthington. So there's no deviation between the core values of the questions that are being answered about the person. So it just should stick in your head after a while.
And so the people like that are coming to us, it's like, oh wow, this is for real. Like, in other words, like we always say, look, they a lot of times they'll come. I may coordinate the interview, and they'll be. They think I'm going to make the hiring decision, and quickly explain to them, look, I'm not going to make this hiring decision. The folks that you are going to work with on this working interview are going to have all the input, and they're the ones that are going to make the hiring decision. It's not me. It's not Rafal.
That's very powerful. I like how everything that you explain it sounds very simple. And it is simple when you do it, I guess. I mean, there is complex ways to roll it out and measure it and make sure it works and slowly getting out there. And yet it's one of those, it's this, and so many companies struggle with the simplicity of that. It's like, why not have the team that somebody has to work with make the hiring decision? Why would you do it any other way? They're the ones working with them.
That's exactly the logic behind it. Right? So if we start making decisions about hiring people right on the floor, we don't know like how that person will perform. But people that are making that decision, they're already, okay, after 3 days, this should work, right? And we go on to the 30-day. And the same process is being used if we have to let somebody go. Based on the input on 360, it's like, okay, maybe it's the time that we have to part ways, and it's based on the input from the people that are from the coworkers.
Yeah.
But yeah, in a sense, it's very simplistic. Right?
Yes, there's no
logical. I should say.
Yes,
logical.
it's logical. I think it's not simple, but it's logical. It's like there's no other way. Why would you expect another way to work?
As they say, it can be simple but not easy. It might be straightforward, but it doesn't mean it's easy to do.
Yeah, I mean, simplifying processes is probably one of the hardest things to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do you take it to its basics elements, or actually logically will work? And that's kind of what we try to do here. And eliminate middlemen, right? Like eliminating supervisors. And that's the other point.
Yeah. I mean, everything that both Rafal and I have worked. I don't want to say it that worked in environments that haven't been great, and one of the I think, parts of our decision making was always like, well, that was horrible when I had to go through that, as an employee or years ago or whatever. And how do we always kind of eliminate that?
Right, one of my first reviews, I pretty much considered that was a total BS, and I never went to any reviews after that. It's like, I can put whatever you want. It doesn't, like, I don't care.
I felt the same way being reviewed and being the reviewer. I'm like, this is useless on both ends. Can we please not do this?
With a lot of the new changes, different reviews, depending on the company I used to work for, it's coming from the top. It's like, oh, we should do this now. Now you write your own feedback. It's like, for what? Like, it's like usually reviews are linked directly to my pay raise, and I know the budget for pay raises is 3%. So, like, I'm not gonna waste my time to write paragraphs of myself. Either you're gonna give me a raise or not. Like, it's just. So
Also,
I think that the other thing is that reviews of the 360 reviews are not linked to pay. They're just like, are you on the right track to be still? Are you able to work in Worthington Assembly? That's the purpose of it. But it's separate from the pay review. It's two different things.
And so the pay review, so I have to say, like, all of this stuff we're kind of figuring, we're figuring out over the years. And I mean, we've been at this for, it's going to be 15 years in February. So, we're not seasoned veterans, but we're not, by no means are we experts or have we found the best solutions. Okay, that's what. But for pay raises, we've figured out the best thing to do so far is to have the person that would like the raise to schedule a meeting with us to discuss their pay, as opposed to us handing out 3% raise every year for everybody. We haven't done a cost of living increase. Everyone in the company has access to the same document, which says, if you would like a raise, here are the 3 things you have to do. And the first thing is schedule a meeting with us. And people do, but it's not like they do every day. And the reason why someone's not scheduling a meeting every day or every week with us is because, for the most part, they're satisfied with their pay for what for the value that they're bringing in every day. In other words, like, I do job XYZ. I feel like I'm compensated well for that job, and that's the feeling we want people to have when they arrive each day. One of our goals that we have when we literally write it down is that, or part of our mission is to feel good when you pull in the parking lot in the morning. In our world, you do have to actually go to pull into the parking lot because we're manufacturing. But when you're sitting, when you pull into that parking spot, that for you to feel good, so that part of that is pay, and that's why all of our teammates downstairs are coming in. They have to come in for pay. So no, no one downstairs is independently wealthy. Okay, they have to work.
I like the
Just
feel good when you pull into the parking lot piece.
Yeah, and it's pays a piece of it, right? It's not everything, but it's a chunk. What you do and who you work with, and how you're treated, and all those things I think are all really tied to it.
Yeah.
One thing I really like, just in how you guys are talking about this, and it just comes across just even over a Zoom screen, is you guys have a lot of humility in how you've approached this, and yet you're achieving some really, really interesting and really cool things here. One of the things I noticed you say, Neil, is like, we're not experts, but here's the best thing we found so far. And that growth mindset and that humility there is really awesome to see. Just, it's so powerful to allow ourselves to sit in a moment of, hey, we haven't figured it all out yet, but we're going to still keep trying. There's more to do. And also your conversation about the pay, having people have a conversation first. I feel like a lot of the places that I've seen would have the immediate knee-jerk reaction of like, well, everybody's going to burst our door down all the time and ask for raises. And this is such a great example of all these fears that we create. And I don't know where this comes from, but it's also unhelpful. But that I feel like is what I would hear from many places that I would have worked, who would be like, yeah, you don't get to have a conversation. We're going to do this once a year, and we're going to do it based, like you're saying, Rafal, like, it's going to be based on the paragraphs you wrote about yourself, which set an expectation that we're going to go defy. So good luck. And it takes a lot of kind of courage to get past that knee-jerk reaction, but also after practice, I would assume or hope that gets a little bit easier over time for you guys to be entering this space of, hey, we're just going to keep trying to improve.
That's what we're doing, especially with the pay, because it's such a kind of difficult way of how do you pay people? What kind of value do they bring in to your organization, right? And it has to be a limit, right? At some point, I mean, we are constrained by, how much capacity we have in order to grow. If somebody comes over, hey, I need $100 an hour, probably that's not going to happen. But there is no one that actually did that, right? Any discussions about the pay that we had so far were always, people will think about it, do some research, right? And that's what we want. It's like at some point there might be a situation that you can probably make more money than with Worthington, which is totally fine, right? This is, again, that exercise of thinking of how valuable you are for Worthington or maybe somebody else. I think it's very important, right? And to progress your career or maybe make more money for your family, right? And it doesn't have to be Worthington. We wish you stay and work for us, but we totally understand the needs, right?
Definitely. So how do you, I'm really fascinated by, and I totally believe the non-hierarchy structure. So the lattice structure, the decentralized, no supervisors, everything that you're doing. And, we operate very similarly within our company. And I think we probably always will when we grow as well, just because I think I'm allergic to pyramids in general. And it's interesting to, in a world that is basically formed by hierarchy everywhere around us, how can somebody feel like they are progressing in their career without having that title that tells them or tells the world, look, I'm now a senior director and I was a director 2 years ago. Like, how do you see that play out in your company?
It's a great question. I would say that, for folks that are really concerned about that, like a title, we're not the right environment for them. We're a small business. We're growing when we're always growing. Well, thankfully, we've always been kind of growing, and we'll continue to grow. But if you're worried about what your title is, then we're not going to be the right place for you. But you can be worried about the skills you're gaining, and if you kind of get to a point where there's no more skills for you to gain and you want more and the company can't offer it to you, then you're going to, you may have to move on. and that's okay. We understand that. But hopefully you've been, we just encourage so much for people to cross-train, always try to eliminate your job so you can go off and explore and learn new things for us.
We do have titles for outside use, I want to say. We have like my title is CFO, Neil is the president. So. But our secondary titles are assembly assistants. That's what we do. So whatever you need us to do, take trash out, whatever, that you have time. If we have time, we'll do it. But same, we have two CTOs. One is a chief technology officer. The other one is chief talent officer. But they are on the floor working as needed, and then hard workers. So it's not like they have their own office. We don't even have offices. We just have a 2-desk plopped assembly area. So you overhear all the conversations, and people that work for us overhear a lot of our conversations. So yeah, that's probably different than anybody else will have. As far as titles, we tend to, if a person needs a title for wherever, we tend to, it's like, okay, pick one, whatever you think is appropriate. In the past, we've been using this great website. It's called bsjobtitles.com. So you can create. And we got some great titles from that. One of them was a dynamic
solutions associate.
Yes, dynamic solution. It was perfect.
I'm gonna have to check that one out. I need to revamp my title every few months.
It seems like the website was designed back in early 90s and it stayed that way. So it's even more fun. It's very functional, but no graphics, anything. But it's perfect.
And we actually advertised a job for a dynamic solutions associate and got plenty of good resumes.
Yeah. I really like the view that the switch to career progression is not about the title you have and where your spot on the org chart hierarchy is, but it's about the skills that you gain. And are you able to work yourself out of your own job, which means you're gaining different skills and you get to help in other ways.
Yeah. And we have natural leaders, people that gain skills faster than others, and they'll progress faster than others. And people will tend to ask questions more of that person, right? It's like and you see them rise. Like it's naturally will happen, right?
Well, especially for a dynamic solutions associate.
That's right.
Yes. And actually, the person that took that job, came to us out of college, I think in 2015. And so, yeah, they graduated college in 2015. Now they're with us still in 2022. I think they've more than doubled their pay since they've been with us, and more than doubled their skill set and what they do. And they work on really complicated problems with customers now. It's been a cool progression for that person. He's our program manager. His name is Brett. So if anyone, and I'm sure people, any of our customers that here listen to this, will know him because they've had to work. They when they call Worthington Assembly, a lot of people don't ask for Rafal or myself or emails that come in, but they know our team members that are much more suited to answer their questions than us.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So your other core values are contribute, fun, and grit. What can you tell us about those?
Fun is obvious, I guess. We need people. What we say about fun is like just not take yourself too seriously. So Raechel and I usually score lowest on have fun just because we don't have that. I'm not sure.
I beg your pardon. I think my fun score is pretty high.
was higher than mine.
That the F stands for in CFO.
that?
Chief Fun Officer.
Oh, I could use that. Thank you.
Oh, and I guess I should note that Rafal and I both go through the 360 process as well. So, yeah. But so grit is this is manufacturing, and I guess any job you need grit, right? But I believe there's a different kind of grit in jobs like manufacturing, jobs like where you're front lines, right? So restaurants, hospitals, all these places where it's like you have to be there, you have to push through to get this done. There's no like taking a those times where there's like you just can't take a break because you feel like it, right? You want to, right? There's no working from home. There's none of this, right? So in order to do that, I believe it takes a lot of grit. And we have jobs that are not fun. You might have to do something that's hard, like physically, not like good example is you might have to break something apart that's very difficult to break apart, and your hands are going to get tired, and it's hard, right? It takes grit to be able to do that.
Do the same thing over and over again for hours on end, right? Because that's the job we got. And you have to be able to just do it. I mean, like you, in our situation, we have a lot of different projects that we're working on. So it's almost never the same product that we're building. So there's always thinking involved, like, okay, how do I do this or that? But sometimes we get, higher volume projects that require just sitting down for 8 hours and just do the same thing over and over again until it's done. So it is, like Neil said, it's manufacturing. We only get paid when the machines are moving and hands are moving. Stuff being shipped and delivered, and hopefully we get paid.
Yeah. And the last is contribute. And this is what we talk about, like working on the business versus working in the business. So working on the business means you're gonna, like stop shipping revenue for a customer to focus on improving how we do something, right? And we actually have an environment where we have to sometimes, hold people back from working on the business because they get so excited about working on the business versus working in the business. But we need everybody to be able to contribute. So it's not contribute. That's really what we mean by contribute, which is like contribute to working on the business, not just in the business. So just coming in and doing what you're told, or coming in and just doing that simple task is not good enough. I am very well. I am better at working in the business than on the business. Rafal is an expert in working on the business and in the business. But let me tell you, a lot of it.
Say that.
But a lot of this, the foundation of a lot of the processes that we have come from folks that just love working on the business.
I think, in the past companies that you work in manufacturing, a lot of the ideas that people will have doing just, base tasks, they just got lost because they'll try to tell someone, your supervisor, and usually the response, oh, yeah. And you get lost, right? So we try to encourage that any ideas you have. I'm not sure if that we still use it, but I used to have ideas, spreadsheet or Google sheet that you can put the ideas down, and then at some point we'll review it, because not everything can work, right? You can't we won't allow people to just change processes because they feel it's a good idea. You have to talk about it with your team. There's a little bit of a process to get the idea going, but we encourage all the people to come up with new ideas, the better and faster ways of doing things that makes us a lot more efficient.
So you guys have decentralized ideas, you've decentralized work, you've decentralized pay. You guys, is there lattice through and through?
Yeah, and decentralizing ideas. I mean, how many? If you've all been in this situation where it's like, someone, I've got this great idea. I want, this and this, and they're expecting you to take it and run with it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's like, well, it's your idea. If it's your idea, you have to take it and run with it,
Yeah.
right? And so it's really having that environment where the person that's having the idea is able to take it and run with it. It doesn't mean they can just implement it right away, but they got to take it and run with it, own it.
Yeah, a lot of people are working on any type of a line. I used to work in this healthcare company on a floor. I don't know if the term came from that, but it was a cardboard engineer. When it's like, oh, I can make this do a little bit faster and slower, better for me. Give me some cardboard and Scotch tape, and they'll come up with something, right? It slides a little bit better, whatever that may be.
Yeah.
And it's a great idea and it works, right? But nobody kind of knows about it, or like somebody comes over and just destroys the thing. It's like, no, that's not according to the process. Can't do that, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So, and whenever we talk about change, we end up splitting it and trying to help people understand there's at least 3 phases to this. There's the ideation phase of thinking about it. There's the activation phase of how will this actually work? How do we get the rubber to hit the road? And who else will this impact? And how do we get people on board with that? And finally, the implementation phase. And so it's very easy to try and jump from ideation to implementation. It's very easy to jump from ideation to, I really hope somebody else takes this. And it's rarely jumping into the activation phase of like, how do we really make this a reality, and having those discussions. So it sounds like you guys have a good process for also including that as part of it, and including the ownership. If it's your idea, come and help.
Yeah, I think it's the whole, what we're trying to do, it has to come from the owners or whoever's in charge, right? If there's no buy-in there, I don't think this will work, right? Because we essentially decided not to be kings, right? And if you can't do that, if you can't be a true, CEO, when it's my way, right? then it's very, very hard to implement this.
So looking back on everything you guys have done, you guys called yourselves not seasoned veterans even after 15 years, which is somewhat entertaining, given that that's definitely past at least the benchmark 10,000 hours. But I'm curious, what from both of you, what is something you're most proud of looking back that you really like that you've done with Worthington?
For me, it's the individuals that I think have what I consider good jobs, that I think are happy when they pull into the parking lot each day. They may have that if Worthington didn't exist, but they may not. And I think the fact that Worthington exists and they have they have that feeling every day is what I'm most proud of.
I think for me, just that I don't know, I want to call it platform that we have created with Worthington, meaning that all the tools and processes of 360, the culture, the 4 values we've been able to put in place, that now something is growing on top of it, right? Mm-hmm. The culture we have will engage people that are working for us, right? The engagement that we have from our employees is superior to any other organizations, I think, that we know of. And also attracts other people with the same mindset, right, that we want. And hopefully that will still work. I can't predict if it will, but
seems to be working so far.
Yeah, like the book that Chip Collins wrote, Good to Great. He had to write another one because not all those companies were great. So who knows? I'm not sure.
It's true. Now you have to, when you need to get tired of manufacturing, package everything that you guys are doing and then go on the road to spread the goodness to other companies.
Yeah, we talked about it. It's like you have to have the mindset. When you pick to be a CEO, right, you want to be a CEO, not say, okay, just do whatever you want. Then why do I need a CEO? So I think it's a lot tougher to actually put this in place, right?
Yeah.
And it took us years, right, to actually, and we notice sometimes now when we hire new people coming from the more standard manufacturing backgrounds, it takes a while for them to actually believe in this. Because I mean, I heard it all before, right?
Yes.
You got a new whoever's in charge, then you have different whatever processes, right? New ideas to be implemented, and at the end it becomes the same, right?
Yeah.
So
Or it goes away.
It goes away, and you get a new banner on the wall. We're gonna do something else, right?
Yeah. Everybody has values on posters and walls, but do they actually live them and use them and believe them?
See, we have none of those.
See,
no
give me
banners.
the posters.
No banners, no posters.
Have you guys tried it? Because it doesn't work for other companies.
We discuss all this because I mean we both came from standard type environments, right? Both educated in colleges that teach the same thing as far as business classes goes, right? Human resources, how do you do reviews, all this stuff, right? But through experience, we know that it did not work as advertised, right? And I think our influences are from many different places, podcast, books, other people, and this is just a mismatch of what we've been able to pick from different places and put together.
Well, having that learning mindset is incredibly important. I mean, that's the one thing that'll help you regardless of how the future changes, is just being curious about that. And, one thing we see a lot is a lot of people who have been through standard workplaces and they want to move away from some of the practices that they didn't like or didn't think they worked. And that's a great starting point. And then it takes the next step of starting to discern what's the direction you do want to go. Because it's one thing to move away from something, and it's a totally different thing to move towards or purposely experiment with something new. And you guys have gotten, it sounds like, very good at that process of experimentation. And I think it does require that vulnerability. And I applaud you both, because it's very exciting to see all of these things coming together, and just the grace you guys are exuding with talking about this. It's very exciting from our point of view to see these things happening.
Yeah. We can feel your core values come through even the conversation.
Yes.
It's like, oh, yeah, that's what honesty means. And that's what humility looks like. Yeah.
Great to hear.
Yeah, thank you.
It's more than just words.
We should probably note too, we're very fortunate that we continue to gain, we have a lot of good customers that continue to need circuit board assembly. So, without that, none of this would be happening.
Well, and I'm sure that what you're building internally, it translates into how satisfied the customers are and how the external piece goes.
We strongly believe so. I mean, a lot of times we have people that are actually working on a project on their assembly bench will contact the customer directly. And we do encourage that. A lot of people don't want to, right? For whatever reason, they're not able to write up a proper email, that kind of stuff. But that way a customer gets the person that actually does the work for their product, right? So yeah, it's just process of elimination of middlemen. That's what we're after, kind of.
Right.
Yeah. Really like that. So we have a couple of last questions for you guys. One is, what is your definition of authenticity?
Being authentic, is that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
How do
we
you-
are.
Yeah. Just being you.
That's that's my humility.
Yes.
I think just, not trying not to be someone, what everyone thinks you should be, right? Or, and putting up these filters and, I don't know, facades for we try to just always try to be as real with our team as much as possible, and try to share as much information as possible, whether that's good information, whether that's good news or bad news.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll sleep better at night if you do.
Yeah. Very true.
Yeah, I think being authentic, it's probably just being yourself, a human, right? And treat others as that. Yeah.
Simple,
Sorry, I
but
don't
not
have a good
easy.
answer.
That is a good answer.
That's a great answer.
It's a great answer.
I think Rafal and I are both very fortunate in that we do get to be ourselves every day, or at least I can say I do. And we're just very fortunate that we are, given the environment that we're in.
And so one final question for you guys. Where can people find you?
Our website is worthington.co. It's a shortened version.
All right.
I don't have any other social media.
What about LinkedIn? We both are on LinkedIn. Neil Scanlon. And the other place that everyone may enjoy the Pick Place pod. Some people may enjoy the Pick Place podcast, which our CTO does.
Mm-hmm.
And it's has some really cool guests on there, including a lot of times he'll actually have some of our team members on there.
Oh, that's
So
wonderful.
someone in shipping might be on, or so our CTO's been on, our other CTO's been on. Folks in assembly, and we have not been on. But
Next appearance.
yeah, but
we're not the experts in any of the assemblies.
but we're both on LinkedIn for sure.
Perfect. Excellent. And soon on tour to go and spread the goodness of how to run organizations, evangelize, how to humanize manufacturing and other types of industry.
I think we rather welcome everybody here. Check out our place. Even going back to even tours, right? We decided to do a different way of doing tours. So we have now a process map of how we build boards, and whoever's getting a tour will follow the process and will go from one work center to the other work center, and we'll talk to the people that work in the work center, and they'll talk about what they do in the work center, and they'll bring that person over to the next work center. Right? So we are not involved. You get it? That way is so much better.
Yeah.
Working yourselves out of jobs.
Well done.
That's the goal.
Well, thank you guys so much. This has definitely been a fun hour for us. Hopefully this contributes one fun hour for you guys, for your value, your core value as well. But thank you for joining, and thank you so much for sharing all of your stories. Once more, this is Neil and Rafal from Worthington Assembly.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, guys.